I bet. Do you? Any questions from my virtual audience that you've seen? My remote audience? You let me know if you see something, please. Or anybody else who's following along on Twitter, let me know if you see a question that pops up. Okay. Are you with me still? I know we've gotten really tactical for you. Is this helpful for you? Yes or no? Yes. Do a thumbs up, thumbs down for me so I know where you are. Okay, good. I love this WT hashtag, what the hashtag. This is actually one of my favorite sites. This is from a June conversation in Event Profs. And you see right here, the top contributors. This is actually when I moderated it, a live chat. This is what's really cool about Twitter. You can have a live chat in Twitter with your virtual audience. And they can using tweetchat.com, write that one down, tweetchat.com, which is free, they can filter out all the other noise but the hashtag. You don't see anything but the noise. And then you can come back afterwards to what the hashtag, and you can find out who the top contributors were. You can find out who your champions are. You can also find out who are those that are asking lots of questions, need lots of assistance. And you can see right here, you can follow. If you have a conference hashtag, you can actually follow for up to 2 weeks' time. And what's really nice, on the next page of this, when you click on down into here in this stats section, you can get an Excel document of all the tweets that have been used with your conference hashtag name in one spot and hit print. And you can get it in a PDF form or an Excel document. That's a really cool tool because then you can go back and evaluate what were they saying about our event. Wouldn't you like to know what their thoughts were? Who the honorary ones were? Who the challengers were? Who was saying the great things? The other things, so when you set up a hashtag and you create a hashtag for your event, you actually want to go to wthashtag.com, put the information in that we're using this hashtag for this event, and then actually you will have a place that you can write the description of the event, the dates of the event, and you can put in the conference logo for the event. And that's a great little tool for you to be using. This is really kind of a fun tool that most people don't know that's there. Questions about what the hashtag, WT hashtag, any? Tweet deck? Tweet chat. I don't think I have a picture of tweet chat. Tweet chat is actually on your screen. It'll filter out. When you go to sign in, it says you need to sign in with Twitter. So you have to have a Twitter account. And then it'll say, give me the hashtag. And you'll put in your hashtag just for your event. There will be nothing else on the page but this stream of tweets in real time, updating between 6 to 10 seconds of people who are using your hashtag. So that's all it is. It's just a filter. It's great for a live chat. And one of the things that I suggest you do, which we're going to get into here in a minute, is when you secure your speakers, in the contract with your speakers, actually put that you want them to do at least one live tweet chat, set a date, set a time, teach them how to use tweet chat if they don't know, and then actually market it. Put it out there that there's going to be a chat with Dan Peek. Wouldn't you have loved to have chatted with Dan Peek? I don't know about you, but I had questions for him. And I would have loved for him to have been available online for 45 minutes where we could have all asked questions and he responded. How many of you have participated in a tweet chat, just so I get an idea? I know Barbara has, Paul has, okay. Sue, would you come up here, mind, and tell us what your thoughts were about, or here, he'll bring you the mic, a tweet chat? You can tell us pro or con.
Yeah, I think I'm a little con. And just like any kind of web chat, I find them a little disorienting because everything's a little asynchronous. You're not necessarily getting questions and answers in order. So I find it a little confusing sometimes. It's just a matter of orienting your brain to work in that way. And once you get the hang of it, it's not bad. But it's kind of like reading Shakespeare at first, you know. But it does get. But otherwise, it can be really interesting. You get a lot of great short bites on things. The ones I've participated in, you don't always get answers to your questions. People tend to go off on tangents a lot as well. That would be my quick hits.
One of the interesting things, though, about Tweet Chat is you can actually put it on pause. So if you're getting distracted by the stream going too fast for you, you can actually put it on pause, kind of catch up a little bit, and then turn it back on and kind of catch up with it.
Just as a sidebar, it's a great point. As a sidebar, there's 100+ live chats in Twitter every week on all kinds of topics, from blogging to catering to there's just everything out there. And all you need to do is Google or Bing tweetchat.com or just tweet chats, and it will give you a Google list of tweet chats that are out there. If you want to just jump in one. For myself, the first time I participated in one, I was kind of shocked. And I got this juice, this energy afterwards. I was really buzzed about it. And what's very interesting is the research from the Department of Education shows that polylogs, many people having many conversations at the same time online, juices your brain. Now, like Sue said, it is a little disorienting at first, but when you get into the swing of it, and suddenly you get into it, when you moderate a chat, now there's a fun thing to do, is to try to moderate one of these. And when I moderate a chat, I might have 50 people in there, and I'm asking questions of everybody at the same time. And different questions. And I try to keep up as fast as I can. Sometimes it does go off on a life on its own. But what's very interesting is to see all these people online using Twitter to actually talk with each other about important things. Think about if Dan Pink had done a tweet chat, the remote audience, and even us that were there face-to-face, would have probably been online asking questions. And so that's something that I really suggest that you think about. So when you are doing your contracts with your speakers, here's the way to extend the interactions. Here's the way to create awareness. Here's a way to create attractions with your conference and events, whether they're virtual, hybrid, face-to-face. Always in your conference contracts, ask your speakers to do at least one blog post. I suggest 2. They've got tons of content. All they have to do is repurpose it. They will love this because you're going to market them. Put it on your conference blog. Put it out there in your conference blog. Do one before the event. Do one after the event. And I suggest you start months in advance. When I actually would plan conferences and events, and I would do my face-to-face meetings, I would look at my speakers for the whole year. And I would create an integrated plan of when we were going to do blog posts, when we were going to do pre- and post-webinars, pre-conference webinar, post-conference webinar. I would look at when we're going to do tweet chats, when we're going to do a blog talk radio interview. Great tool, completely free. You can create your own radio internet station for your conference. How cool is that? Just blogtalkradio.com, go set up an account. You can drop in your conference logo. You get the whole radio station on your desktop. It gives you a phone number. You advertise it. You can get bumper music to start your interviews. It's all right there if you want to use some that they've got, free music. You have your speaker call in. It gives you another number that you can broadcast over the internet. Call this number to talk to us. And you have a bank of 10 that will sit in the queue. What else is great is it integrates with Twitter so that you can have, and also integrates with its own text. So you can have a lot of things going on. Very simple thing to do, create a 15, 20-minute interview with the speaker. What they're going to talk about. Speakers love this because they're going to get marketing. And it's a lot easier to pick up the phone, have a 15-minute conversation, and ask some questions for them. Then what's nice is you can embed this into your website. People can download it to their MP3 player. And what I found when I was doing this is that my attendees weren't listening live. They were downloading it to their MP3 players and listening to it to and from work. You could do, here's kind of a sidebar, you could do blog talk radio interviews on the city you're going to for your conference or event. Have the CVB on. And what you're also doing is attracting a digital audience. who's saying, gosh, I really wish I could be there. And what's really cool about this is you can do this on site. You can actually set up a booth somewhere and have interviews on site that are radio driven through Blog Talk Radio. That's a great free tool for you to think about. Talked about tweet chat for speakers. E-news article. Most of you have some type of e-news letter that you do. Ask your speakers to repurpose some other content for an e-news article. A magazine article. Now this one you need to think about months in advance because of those deadlines. Chris and Barbara, 90 days in advance, 120 days in advance. Actually, you want to know probably a year in advance, right? If we were going to have a speaker that might have an article for one of your magazines, I'm going to my editorial staff. Michelle, two months in advance. So, but this is another thing to do. And you want to put all this information into that contract. So when you're doing that contract for your speaker, think long term. Don't just think of them showing up at a face-to-face, or don't just think about them delivering a presentation or webinar. Think long term. How can we extend this content and use this content to market, to attract, and also to get people talking about it? Short video clips. In the presentation that Chris Brogan did, I guess it was Monday, he actually said one of his top recommendations was that conference people start using video movie trailers for their conference. Short, 1 minute, 2 minute. Write this down, animoto.com, ANIMOTO.com. It is a great free tool where you can drop in still pictures, put a little bit of text, click a button, add some music to it, pick the music they have available, click a button, and it creates a video for you. It does all the work for you. And it's a great free tool. You can upgrade for, it's not very expensive, I think $30 a year, maybe $60 a year, to have a little bit higher version so you can have longer videos. What a great tool. We did one this week of the Learning Lounge for PCMA, and we did it Monday. Threw it up online for people to see. So you can do them beforehand, you can do them during the conference, and you can do them after the conference. Don't we all like to see our pictures online? We like to see ourselves. Take those conference pictures and put them up. But really think about creating movie trailers for your event. They don't have to be really slick. Sometimes a flip camera and interviewing somebody for 30 seconds is perfect. And keep them short. Record in Skype. Talk to your speakers, and if they say, well, I can't create a video for you, ask them, can I do a Skype interview with you, and can I record it? Pull them up on Skype, have a conference call, video call with them, record it, and put it out there. Great tool that's easy for you to use, and free. I wish more conferences did this. Create a YouTube conference page. Simple, easy to do. This is an event that I worked on for 6 years, and we put up a fundraising event. We put this together and turned it loose for our participants to start putting up their own videos. They could add their own videos to this as well as ours. We're moving into where the internet's going to be more and more video driven, so really think about this as well. And what's nice is you can see, you can drop in your logo. You can actually put in all kinds of information about your conference and event. Free tool. Facebook page. Pretty common, pretty normal. And what I would suggest is if you're going to do a Facebook page, create a Facebook event that is linked to your Facebook page. You want to do it from inside the Facebook page, because if you create it separate from your Facebook page, you have two then competing pages out there. And also your Facebook page has more robust things that it can use for your conference or your event. Where your event page, there's just a few things that you can do there. You can't put up as many pictures, you can't reply as quickly, but so you want to create this event attached to your conference Facebook page, because then you get all the analytics in one place. Questions about that? Anybody? Comments? LinkedIn events. Here's PCMA's annual meeting. There's me, there's my boss, who's sitting right here. There's some of the other people that we all went on LinkedIn, and where PCMA had created the event, checked in that we were coming. What's great about this is it shows up in our LinkedIn profiles that we're going to this event. Same thing with Facebook. When somebody registers for a Facebook event, it suddenly shows up in the news feed of their friends. So there's a great marketing tool. LinkedIn discussions, you probably know those two. Here is a great tool that's simple and easy to do for your conferences. Create a social badge. Here's the one for PCMA's education conference. Here's one for an event coming up. And have your marketing department, your graphics people, create something simple. You typically want to keep them in small sizes, like 125 by 125. And then when you put them up on your website, put them up on your conference website, put a label, social badges, logos, etc. And you're going to give them the actual HTML code. So then the bloggers at your event can drop this on their blog site that they're attending the event. Those that have their own websites can add it to it. And what's really cool is I've seen people posting these in Facebook, actually taking the image and posting it right in Facebook, I'm attending. So this is a simple tool, but it's a great way to get other people talking. Questions about social badges? Yes? Is there a site or tool that automatically creates the HTML code so you can get it easily? I don't know of one. Does anybody know of one? Most Gen Ys, Gen X know HTML. It's pretty easy. You can always find, give me the code for how to put a picture up that has a link embedded in it, because you actually want this to link back to your conference site, maybe to your registration page. If you'll Google that, Bing that, it'll pull it up. Here's one that many people don't know. This is a great aggregator site, almost.at. Almost.at. And you see right here there's a little I button. This is actually the web page right down here on the bottom left-hand side. If you'll go to that page and click on that button down there on the bottom, you can put in your conference name, web link, etc., hashtags to create an aggregated site that pulls in all the pictures and videos from YouTube and Flickr, pulls in all the tweets that people are using, pulls in deeper discussions that are going on, all on one page. Completely free tool, and you can brand this. And this is a really robust tool, because you see right here, you see what the avatars of the people are saying, but what's really nice is this whole package right here, pulling videos as well as pictures right into one site. So, we've got about 3 or 4 minutes. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for being present. Let's do some Q&A.
Can I start?
Sure.
So this has been a lot of great information, Jeff, but what I hear a lot from even my own staff at Oracle is, yeah, but we don't, you know, a lot of our audience isn't on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, any of these things. How would you recommend that, you know, event organizers go about actually educating their audiences to get onto these social networks, because that's going to be a channel where they get a lot of primary information about their event?
It's a great question, and I would go back to when I started saying be a leader. Think about leading your customers out there so that they can learn where their customers are. Really think about that. And it is an education tool. And if you're sitting here and saying, none of my people at my event are on some of this stuff, I would submit to you that they probably are. 67% of Americans are on Facebook. 67%. That's a huge number, and that's just growing. So what I would submit is create some short YouTube videos on how to use Twitter, how to use YouTube. Really short, 2 or 3 minutes, to start educating people on how to use this stuff. And when you're putting information out that says, have you seen this or you've seen this? And the other thing I would do, if you're an association, challenge some of your committees and task force. Look for some champions that talk about this stuff already, and ask them to be leaders and help educate others on how to use this. Does that help? What other ideas do you have?
The other question I would have is, you know, given that we're at Virtual Edge, we haven't talked too much about, you know, actually using all of these tools to both engage your live attendees, but how to engage, is it different engaging them in a remote situation during an event if you're doing a hybrid event, for example?
Do you think it's different? And if so, how?
I'm not sure. I really am not sure. I'm not sure that I've played with it enough and experimented with it enough to know, having moderated lots of Twitter back channels for our events.
Sure.
From that perspective, no, not necessarily. And I think that you could probably use all of these tools to engage a remote audience pretty similarly to what you would do with a live audience. I'm just curious if, in your experience, in any kind of virtual event or hybrid type of event, whether you've seen differences or whether you've seen the remote audience use these tools in a different way from a live audience.
I've not seen too much of a difference, but what I would suggest when you're face-to-face with a group and you have a remote audience is you do appoint some people that are Twitter moderators. There was supposed to be an official Twitter moderator in here for this room who didn't show up, and you saw what I did right off the bat is I asked Barbara to do it for me. And when you see somebody with a laptop that's open or an iPad and you see them typing away, make the assumption that they're tuned into you. They're either taking notes or they're tweeting about what's going on, and just ask if there's anybody using any of the tools and would they help you. It's the quickest and easy thing to do. Those of you that were a little bit late to the session, let me tell you what else I did this morning that was interesting. My co-panelists didn't show, so one of the things I did this morning, I worked with the AV team. Those of you who were here early saw this. And when I wanted to talk to the remote audience, I gave you guys something to discuss about. And y'all had a discussion while I turned and talked to the remote audience, and the sound still went to the remote audience. What a great tool to make sure that our remote people are connected and feel like they're getting something special. And y'all didn't hear me talking at all. You were engaged in your own discussion. And that's a tip for your presenters. That's a really important tip for your presenters to know. Other questions? I saw some hands, I thought.
Hi, Jeff. Traditional marketing methods have been able, in many cases, to trace back to what they did and what the results were. And I'm wondering, with all of these, there's plenty of statistics. The metrics are there, but the metrics don't necessarily tell you what is being most effective. I want to know about the connection. Tell us a little bit about that.
Some simple things to do. When you're using Twitter and you are talking about registering for an event, or you might put out in Twitter a specific code that says use this code to register for this event and get $50 off, and put it out for a certain number of hours and say this is available only for this amount of time, and see how many people use that code. There's the way to track those metrics. Do the same thing in Facebook and LinkedIn, and that's how you can get everybody involved. That's one of the tools that I would say. I would also say we're going to be learning more and more about social media metrics. Barbara.
Yeah, you do have a question from the virtual audience, which is, have you used, this is from KRM Mary.
Okay, hi Mary. I know who you are.
Okay, have you used Google Moderator to engage remote audiences?
I've not used Google Moderator for engagement of remote audiences. Has anybody in the room used Google Moderator for that? Dave has. Pick on him, Paul, right here. And tell us your thoughts. I know you'll give them to us pro and con.
Well, we used it, the event camp that in Minneapolis used it. And, and what was kind of cool, and I was virtual, and there was a live audience, and we did our own virtual breakout, basically, brainstorming session. I saw a good use for it. I think it's worth, looking at for, brainstorming type activities. I think that deployment in particular, we had some challenges with it. So my first experience wasn't great. So I think you want to really test it out. It is worth looking into, I think, and to really capture, and there's some good voting capabilities and stuff. So I saw potential, but initially was disappointed.
Okay. So Mary, I would say give it a try and tell your attendees that you're working with that you're going to be trying this. And I think audiences today are very comfortable with when you say, we're going to try this. It may work, it may not. Will you try it with us? Will you be willing to work with us on this and let us know how it worked out? I know I'm, as an attendee, and I suspect most of you in this room, would be willing to try some things at events and give actual feedback. It's all about being authentic, being transparent and authentic. And when you set it up that way, I think your audience will be very forgiving if it doesn't work. Yes?
Yeah, I just had a question. It seems like Twitter has become the default that everybody uses to follow while things are going on site. Does anybody really try, or is there any tools to track what's going on Facebook or LinkedIn around your event as well?
That's a good question. I'm going to give you some other... Twitter is public, so it's public information. That's actually what I like about it, because it's marketing to the public. If you want to have a closed discussion with a moderated audience, try Yammer, YAMMER.com. Yammer is also a great tool for your team to use. You can set it up. It's free of charge. It's a private conversation that you have to have permission to get in, and you just give out the information to your digital audience as well as to your remote audience. Another one to try is Identica, IDENT.ca, Identica. That's another one of those closed ones that's not public information. You don't always want to be tweeting everything that's going on. If there's an executive board meeting, that's not the place for Twitter.
There's also, I mean, many of the webcast platforms have a chat function built into it that you can certainly make private if you want to have a private chat.
If you were to go out here and remote audience, you don't get to see very much of the exhibit hall out here, but if you were to go out here and talk to most of these platforms, they have some type of text typically integrated with them. And you can integrate their text platform actually with Twitter. Typically that's something that you can do, so you can keep it public if you want or keep it private within the integrated chat.
The other option too is both Livestream and Ustream have both a chat function of their own and it integrated to Twitter so that you can do both simultaneously.
Did you catch that? Livestream, Ustream? Livestream and Ustream are video capabilities. 2 years ago I attended an event in Holland by somebody live streaming the whole thing from their iPhone. And they videotaped it live, went to the internet, back to Livestream, which was free. And so I sat and watched the whole event by this person's iPhone. And if you want, it's Sam Smith. Just go ask Sam Smith. He sat there in the event, positioned his iPhone so I could see the guy who was presenting. It was really kind of cool. Yes, Shimo.
Jeff, are you able to, kind of just constantly think about how to integrate all of these tools to each other, right? So, you do recordings and Skype and then use that on your Blog Talk Radio and be able to stream it there and connect that to your blog and, right?
You want to think about your conference website, and here's what Chris Brogan suggested for you. Chris Brogan suggested that you actually use a WordPress platform because it's extremely robust, it's extremely user-friendly. You can get a free version. I suggest you get the hosted version, and then you can embed everything right on that site. You can pull in your Blog Talk Radio interviews right on that site, and it will actually integrate so that when your next radio interviews are set up, it's being advertised as well. It'll keep all the recordings there. You can put Twitter on your site. You can pull in various things. You can pull in Flickr pictures. You can pull in YouTube videos, and so that it's all in one location and aggregated. You want to think about that with your conference site, and that's what I would do. And if all this seems very overwhelming to you, start with one. Start with one. Start somewhere with one. Any other questions?
I have one. I mean, this is some great things. Some of it I knew, some of it I didn't. But what about staffing resources and budgets and that type of thing? How do you get that figured in? Where do you go? And how many people do you need? Because I'm going to be asked that question by management.
Absolutely. Good question. The association I worked for before where I work now, we were a staff of 8. And so what we did, we actually started using all of this. And what we did is we went to the staff and said, who really likes which social networks? And we found out there was somebody on our staff that loved LinkedIn. So we appointed them to be in charge of our LinkedIn discussions. We found somebody who was really, really good at creating videos, was constantly sharing with staff videos they had seen, so they became our YouTube person. So we actually split it up among staff, and that was the way we did it as a small staff. We actually taught everybody how to use Twitter to listen, so that on site everybody was following the conference hashtag to listen to what the attendees were saying. And that's just one thing I would really suggest, because sometimes at a face-to-face meeting, even at digital, when you're doing hybrid events, somebody may be tweeting, I cannot hear, I cannot hear. Unless you have somebody watching that, you don't know to make that correction. On site, you may be having somebody saying, sound is bleeding from such and such room. And it's a lot faster if you see that in real time than them coming and finding you, you radioing to your convention services manager or whoever, and them finding the AV team. So think about using that to listen.
Follow-up question sort of to that and to my earlier question. I'm constantly amazed about how many event people actually are not on social media channels. And so, you know, the question is how do you go about, you know, not only training your attendees, but training your staff to train your attendees and to actually be engaged with them in these channels?
Yeah, it's really in the event world, I say it's real-time feedback. As events, we're used to getting the feedback 2 weeks later after the event's over. We get our evaluations, but nowadays it's real-time feedback. So it's really about training people to listen, at least to listen, and just kind of keep an eye on it. Any other questions? I'm around, Paul's around. There's a bunch of us around. You can, oh, we got one more. One more. This will be the last one. I'm going to let you go.
Actually, just a quick question about targeting a different market. For me, I do a lot of events for students and stuff like that.
Sure.
And it's really hard to get a hold of them because it's Facebook, but there's so much marketing on Facebook that I find it gets lost. And most of them don't use Twitter, which I would love to be able to follow and monitor, but I'm not sure what else to do for students.
Have you thought about a Facebook ad?
Haven't, no.
You can get a Facebook ad for your conference very low and inexpensive. You can pay per click or you can pay per impressions. You can set how much you want to pay per ad, and you can target it to age group, gender, location, whether or not they like sunglasses.
Wow.
You can drill down that deep. So if your event audience is students of a certain age from a certain part of the world, and you know what else is common among them, you can drill it down, and then that ad will only show on those Facebook pages. And you'll be amazed at how the click-throughs will happen with that. Get them to like that to go to your conference page. Great marketing
Here's
tool.
another sort of interesting idea. This one carries a little bit of risk to it and a little bit of privacy stuff, but depending on what your organization is, given that most students use text more than almost anything else, rather than asking them for email opt-in, ask them if they'd be willing to do phone number opt-in so that you could text to them.
And there's some applications out right now where you can actually text to a mass if you've got their text numbers. So with students, you can direct text to them. Thank you very much for your time. Here's just all the images that I used. I always like to give them credit. They came from Flickr, by the way, Creative Commons. I always get asked where I got all my images. Free use, Creative Commons images right out of Flickr. So thank you very much. Have a great rest of your conference.